5-year-old.
I did a video saying, wow, the butterfly effect is crazy because if I wasn't a literal child that was told and forced to take out student loans to go to school, I wouldn't be $80,000 in debt right now. And it was a joke. But my comment section is flooded with redneck boomers who have like guns and chickens in their profiles with American flags and bald eagle emojis saying like, you need to be responsible for your own actions. You were 18. You were an adult. You were able to vote. First of all, creep. If you think at 18 is like, yes, it's legally a consenting adult, but we need to maybe get you checked. Second of all, I didn't make the voting age. I did not create the age that you were able to go to war. So that's not on me. Also, where you're from in like Amarillo, Texas or whatever, I'd imagine there's not a lot of like pressure to be educated because it's Amarillo, Texas, and people there usually like go to the military and like work more blue collar jobs. But where I'm from, it's a very highly educated area. And so even if you decide that you want to go to like community college, there was like a few kids, I think, in my high school that decided to go to community college. People would say things like, oh, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So just the social pressures of having to attend a 4-year university was insane where I'm from, and it was basically expected and you had no other option. And a lot of people in my comments are saying, well, how did you not know the consequences that it would be? Oh, I knew because my parents were like, hey, just to let you know, when you get out of school that we're basically telling you need to go to because you have no other means of fending for yourself, you will be screwed and you will have to pay those off for 10 years and you will probably not be able to live on your own. You'll probably have to move back in with us. And I will just say that I was able to move away, live on my own, and I have been doing that and paying them off. So I have been doing that and I was made aware of it, but societally or whatever, it was not an option. I told my parents, hey, like, I don't want to go to college. I just want to move out to LA and try to be a movie star, which sounds crazy to a bunch of people, especially on the East Coast. And they were like, well, we're not going to be able to support you. They aren't, which is understandable in this economy. And I was in high school, so I had no job, no means of anything. I didn't know really anything about living life. So everyone told me, yeah, you're just going to go to school. They're going to give you a dorm, blah, blah, blah. We'll sign the loans, but like, it'll be fine. You'll pay them off later because you're going to be promised a really good job. And that job that you'll get after college will help you pay them off. No one in my circle or anyone at my high school, my parents, no one was ever like, hey, you should think about joining the military. Like, that was not even an option that I would have considered because I didn't even know how I could do that. And it's also not really in my wheelhouse. And when you have $0 to your name and your parents who have been like raising you for the last 17, 18 years also don't really have any, spending money to give you, understandably, you're not really thinking, oh, well, let me just like try to work it out and live on my own. No, if they say, hey, you're going to go here and continue school and have a roof over your head and like a meal plan, you're going to do that. Also, back when these boomers in my comments were maybe going to school, if you did go to school, it was literally $200 and your parents could cash a check and pay it off right then and there. I feel like no boomers struggled with student loans at all. So it's very easy for you to say because you could also graduate and buy a house at 21. School itself was super stressful, and I remember also trying to get a job that would help me with like loan forgiveness, but I didn't qualify for that job because I shockingly didn't have enough loans. And yes, I could have worked alongside like a lot of people did and tried to pay them off as I went along. I could have done that, but it's very hard being a full-time student having like 12 classes a day to balance a job. I did work over the summers though. But where I'm from, you're sold this idea of you need to go to school because if you don't want to be working at McDonald's, you have to go to college. And also they would keep saying things like, you need the freshman year experience. Like, you can't go to community college. You have to go to school and be a freshman in college. Like, that's the best time of your life. So in short, no one forced my hand, I suppose, but they sold me this vision and it seemed like the only option for me at the time. And because I come from an educated area, yes, I was educated on the consequences. I did not want to do it, but I only had support to go to college. I only had the means, basically, to go to college and then pay the rest off later because we didn't have any money to do anything else. And I'm doing just fine right now, thank you. But, more people my age would be able to purchase homes like you guys did in the 80s if we didn't have to pay an extra $800 a month minimum in student loan debt. And you know who created these student loans and these pressures and everything? Your generation. So maybe you should think of the consequences of your own actions.
Okay, so you guys know I'm a recovering brokey, and I saw someone post how much debt they have as a 24-year-old, so I'm gonna do the same thing. So I just finished grad school. I got my master's at NC State, and I owe the government $85,454. But I feel like it cancels out because I went to the University of Miami for fucking free, so. Okay, credit card bills. I owe $3,822, and I have about 3 credit cards. Honestly, that wasn't even that bad because like 12 months ago, I owed $10,000. So, okay, so I did just buy a new car, and I did not put anything down. I just got a 2024 new Ford Bronco. My car loan was a whopping $35,295. Total debt is $124,571. Bitch, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You know what? That's why I work in sales, because I'm trying to get this paid off as fast as possible. So maybe I am still a brokey, not a recovered brokey.
So it turns out that I am in a lot more debt than I previously thought I was. My video that I did where I said that I am 24 and I have over £20,000 worth of debt. Yeah, it's more than that. So yeah, let's go through what I actually owe. So I've had people message me and ask like where my debt's coming from, what I owe, what from, etc. And all I've really spoken about is my car and my bank loan. So I'm going to go through each one. I've just literally added it all up and I am actually shocked at what I owe. I didn't realise it was this much, but here goes. So I owe next £114.39. I owe Very £991.69. My M&S credit card, I owe £844.99. My Barclays credit card, I owe £1,488.31. My Halifax loan, I owe £11,278.06. Klarna, I owe £79.35. My car, I owe £15,892. And the warranty on my car, which can end in August next year, is £439.92. So, yeah, grand total of £31,128.71. So, yeah, I didn't actually realise I owed that much. So, looking through, I've looked up a few different ways of doing it, and getting rid of the small ones first seems the best option, and it will get rid of a couple of things off of my list. So next is my one that I'm going to get rid of, in Klarna, because they are my lowest ones, and then I'll move on to Very, because that one's with the most interest. My 2 credit cards, I haven't got any interest on them at the moment, so I'm not going to pay them off just yet. I still pay the minimum payments, but I don't have any interest on that. But Very I do, so I'm gonna pay off Very. But yeah, so many people have like been giving me crap about my car. And you know what? I actually didn't realise how much interest I was paying on top of my car. So my car was around £10,000. It was nothing over 10,500. Like, it was 10,000, around that figure. Well, what I'm paying back, which I've worked out, is £16,686.60. So that is like nearly 7 grand's interest. I think that's a lot of interest. I don't know, is it? I don't really know. But yeah, I think that's a hell of a lot of interest. I don't really know what to do about it. There's nothing I can really do about it. I need my car. I can't just return it because it's not going to be worth anything now. Well, it will, but nothing compared to what I paid for it. So yeah, any ideas on that, please let me know. But yeah, guys, when I said I was in 20 grand's worth of debt, no, I'm in 31. Yeah, you might think, why is she laughing? It's not funny, blah, blah, blah. It's not funny. It's not great. I got myself into a situation. Things happen. Life happens, whatever. But I'm going to sort this out, and putting it all onto a bit of paper and looking at it and looking at what I owe each thing. I'm going to make it happen, and I'm going to sort it out because I want to be out of debt. And my goal is, I think... Probably, what are we in now, 2025? Probably 5 years and I'll be out. I reckon 5 years, because it's gonna take me a while, and it is. You know, I'm just working a regular job and I'm just, you know, get paid regular wage. It's not like I'm getting paid massive amounts. So I'm just gonna do what I can with the money that I have. Obviously I've still got bills to pay. Me and my partner live together. We go halves on the bills, so still got bills to pay, still got to feed ourselves, you know, all of these things, fuel for the car, etc, etc. But I'm going to be writing that down every day anyway, and I'm doing an I'll spend 2025, as you said. So, you know, still follow along with that journey because it is happening. And I have not brought anything since the 1st of January. And I know that's not very long. I know it's only the 6th day of January, but guess what? That's good for me. I would have ordered something by now, but I haven't. So pat on the back to me. We're going for it. Also, I'm sat in my car because I feel like this is part of my personality now. All my videos I've done have been in my car, so I'm going to do them in my car and continue to do them in my car. But yeah, that's the total. That's the add up of the debt. And here's to getting out of it. Here's to working on it. And if you're in the same situation, I'm really sorry because it doesn't feel great. But we're in this together. We've got this and we're going to work it out. But yeah, happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you have a lovely evening. Yeah, here's to getting out of debt.
I got sued for $100,000 as a 19-year-old in college. I feel like the craziest things just like happened to me, and it's like I literally have no idea why. So let me set the scene. I'm like 19 or 20 and I'm in college. I think it's like my freshman or sophomore year, and my parents call me and they're like, hey, lawyers just came to the door and you just got served. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I just got served. Like, what do you mean I just got served? They tell me, they're like, you just got sued. And I'm like, what do you mean, like, I just got sued? Like, sued for what? So, 2 years prior, or maybe like a year and like almost 2 years, I had gotten in a small little fender bender on my way home from high school. And I was like 17 years old or something. And super small. We were going probably like 20 miles an hour. Barely hit this guy's car. And he was another high school student and barely hit his car. We like pull over, whatever. I have like my best friend in the car. We're driving, no big deal. And we like get out, exchange information, take photos, do the whole thing. It's no big deal because it was the smallest incident ever. And I like proceed to see him at school the next like few months, days, whatever. I go to a big school. It's like kind of awkward, but it's like whatever. And I completely forget about the situation altogether. Almost 2 years later, literally you have up to 2 years to sue for this. I get sued $100,000 for injuries. I'm like, I'm sorry, I barely touched your car. You were fine. I saw you at school the next like months, like nothing, there wasn't even a scratch, like literally nothing happened. And so yeah, I got sued, and my dad also got sued for $100,000 because he let me drive his car since it was in his name. So it was a total of like $200,000 that they were going after. I swear this stuff just like happens to me. But I literally had to get a lawyer. I had a lawyer. I had like I literally had to like do the whole law thing. And they ended up, like I had to like answer all these questions. I was like sworn in. I had to do all this stuff. I had to hand over. They had to go through like all my social medias, all my text messages, all my calls, because this guy had said he saw me texting when I hit him, and I knew for a fact I wasn't texting. I just like didn't see that he had like stopped in the middle of the road. But yeah, so they go through all my stuff and they're like, you know, this doesn't check out, nothing works. I win the case, duh. Obviously, I'm like, this is all a scam. But yeah, I'm just like, who else gets sued for $100,000 as a poor little college kid?
What do you do when you're barely getting by each and every month? You're behind on pretty much all your bills. You're getting sued by a debt collector, all at the same time as you're trying to prepare for the birth of your first child.
Ooh, the short answer is make more money, but I know it's going to be more than that. So tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so I guess past 2 years, I went into 2 different business ventures with partners that, long story short, I just ended up getting the short end of the stick and never got compensated. So since then, I've had to pretty much just drive for Uber and Lyft to supplement income. Right now, we are 1 month behind on our rent. I am currently 2 months behind on my car. Utilities for like gas and water and power, I have not paid for probably like the past year.
Wow.
And it's still on?
And it's still on, thankfully.
Have you talked to them? Have they talked to you?
They've sent out like notices, and I've made payments whenever I can just to keep things on.
What are you paying for? Even if you have a little income, where is it going?
So I guess, could I give you guys like the breakdown of certain expenses?
Sure.
Yeah, I want to know.
Because those things should be covered first. If you do nothing else, put food on the table and cover your 4 walls. And it sounds like you're not covering the 4 walls, so I'm wondering, where is the money going?
And by the way, tell him the 4 walls real quick, just so he knows.
That's food, utilities, housing, transportation. If you cover nothing else in that order, which means the credit card companies can kick rocks because you got to feed your family and keep the lights on.
Yeah, tell us more numbers. How much is rent? You're in Los Angeles.
Rent? Yeah, my portion is split with me and my partner, and I pay about $1,600.
$1,600 just for you. Okay.
Yep.
And then
my car payment is $610 a month.
Okay, that's a lot. Okay.
Insurance is $330 a month.
Okay.
In charging costs alone to charge my vehicle, I drive a Tesla.
Okay.
Oh no.
It's about $800 a month.
Okay. So stop there, because we're doing good. Now, you're driving Uber and Lyft, which I don't know. I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, but I tend to think of those as side hustles. Now, I do know in places like New York and where there's a lot of traffic, people do this as their full-time job. So tell us what you're making from Uber and Lyft and what you're making each month.
It's anywhere from like 42 to 46, roughly, give or take.
100?
Yes.
Per month. Okay. And tell us where that's going. Okay, obviously half of it, a good portion of that's going to rent. Okay, charging the Tesla. What else is laying around here? Because it seems like with that, you can cover rent, you can cover the car. How are you eating?
Why are you behind on rent and utility bills? Because you're, even after what you just told us, you still got about $2,800 to go.
Mm-hmm. You got to eat.
Yeah, I guess phone and cable is $150 each, so that's $300 there. Groceries, I spend about roughly $300 to $400 on groceries.
Okay. Phone and cable. Why haven't we cut off the cable yet? We're not paying utilities, but we're paying for cable.
Yeah, that's also why I'm calling in, just to like figure out kind of how to navigate all of this.
And tell me about the partner situation. You guys are not married, so therefore you have not combined finances.
Yeah, we have not combined finances. We are very transparent with our finances. We know our incomes. We know how much we spend on certain things.
How is she doing financially? Because she has to live in this hellhole that you've created together.
Yeah, we're both in literally the exact same position. Whatever extra change that I bring in, I'm usually sending to her so that she can cover whatever bill she has. Vice versa, if I need a couple dollars here and there, she'll send it to me. So we're just
what's keeping you guys? I'm so confused.
The math isn't mathing, because if I take if I do it at 4,200, which you said is on the low end, if I subtract rent, if I subtract the car, the charging, the insurance, the phone, the cable, the food, I still have $160 left. And I know that's no kind of margin, but I'm trying to understand why you haven't been paying rent when you had the money to pay rent, and why you haven't been paying your car when you've had the money to pay the car.
Yeah.
What else is left out of the...
Yeah, when we fell off, when we started getting behind on things, it wasn't until afterwards that we were able to at least be up to date with like current matters. So you just don't have the money to get a month to get... You can pay for the month, but you can't pay for the previous months. Exactly.
Got you.
Exactly.
What is keeping you guys in Los Angeles?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Is she working?
She is. Yep.
Okay.
What does she do?
Until the pregnancy?
I'm sorry?
Up until the pregnancy, she'll be working?
Yeah, and she gets like maternity leave and all of that.
Okay, so you're doing Uber, you could do that anywhere. What she does she need to be in Los Angeles County to do it?
She doesn't have to be here, no.
Okay, so
You guys need to get as far away from Los Angeles as possible.
I know that's right.
We need to get your rent down. We need to cut every single bill that isn't necessary to your life. You need to sell both of these cars, and you need to get 3 more jobs. You want an answer to the way out of this? That's it. And if I had a baby on the way, I would be like, I want a different life for this baby than the life I'm living right now. Are you there yet?
No, we're definitely not there yet.
I mean, what George is saying is
Are you
exactly
there yet
right.
emotionally? Like, I'd be on the phone with Comcast or whoever has the cable today and going, I can't afford this. Cancel it now. Cancel it 3 months ago. And I get on the phone with all utility companies and say, please keep the lights on. I got a baby on the way. I'm working on catching up. I'd call every debtor in my life and say, here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm trying to do. And so far, I don't hear very much, I don't know, urgency toward the situation.
I think this is a classic, like, knowing when to hold him and knowing when to fold him. Like, it sounds like you came out, you went to Los Angeles and you had this idea for this business. You got screwed. I don't know your partner, what her thing was, but it's almost like you're hanging on to something that you thought was going to happen. It didn't happen. And now you've got to rebuild something new and start again. And you know what I'm saying?
That's exactly the situation, yeah.
And so the good news, the hard part about that is it sucked. But the good news is you get to start fresh and do something completely new, be completely successful, and you don't have to be clinging to this, you know, past failure any longer. You can choose to let that go at any moment. Because I'm not staying in LA eating beans and rice to drive Uber. I'm just, like, if I'm you, I'm hightailing it out of there, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to move tomorrow? When's your lease up?
So we actually just re-signed for another 12 months.
Yay!
It's also a situation where when it comes to renting apartments, your credit has to be in relatively good standing.
That's true.
Both of our credits have been absolutely obliterated.
But there are places that don't care about your credit, that they just want to see if you have cash money. There are places that care about your credit, and then there's places that they're like, do you have first and last month's rent? Yes. Okay. They might make you pay a little bit more upfront. They may put different, things into the contract, but it's not strictly
What doesn't help
based.
is you got a missed payment now. So we need to fix that part ASAP. We need to get up on the bills, which means we got to work extra, cut everything in your life that isn't necessary, which right now is pretty much everything. I'd sell the car and find a normal job, and you can walk to it or bike to it. You don't need to spend $2,000 a month on your Tesla to make $4,000. That's
Put a
bad
time
math.
limit on this. Put a time limit on this. This needs to happen in the next 2 to 3 months. You guys need to be out of LA and into something different and fresh and new and good.
I'm in $83,000 of debt. All of my debt is student loans. I have $20,702.69 in private student loans and $62,301.74 in federal student loans. So here is a list out of every single federal loan that I have and the interest rate. The majority of these loans are undergraduate loans, so the interest rate is much lower. My plan is to pay the minimum and invest the difference that I otherwise would be putting towards my debt. Mathematically, I'll make more money in the stock market than I would by paying off my debt. I do have 2 loans. These are my graduate loans that are higher interest. There's a 5.28% and a 6.54%. My plan is to refinance these into a lower interest rate. I do not recommend this for everyone. These are federal loans. They have protections, but I want to lower my interest rate so I can reduce the overall interest that I am paying. I will probably be making a video about my refinancing process and how much money I will be saving by refinancing. That is the plan for now. Also, if you're planning to refinance, you have a link in my bio. You'll get a $300 bonus by refinancing with SoFi.
So I graduate in 4 days, just in case, because they could, take my degree away. You never know. I graduate in 4 days on Sunday with a degree in mechanical engineering technology, right? And the most important part about that is I graduate with 0 college debt, no debt whatsoever. I don't owe anyone anything, right? And my problem is I scroll sometimes through TikTok or Instagram and I just see people complaining about their student loans and just how much debt they're in because they owe $80,000 a year, or not $80,000 a year, but they owe $80,000 or $100,000 or $60,000, and they're at like a 6 or 7% interest rate, or like a 4% interest rate, or just some interest rate where they are so tight on money, on income, that whatever payments they can contribute that year to the actual student loan, it doesn't even cover the interest that is accrued that year for their loan. So they'll owe $80,000 and then they'll pay $1,200, and then their interest rate adds $3,000 to the loan. So that they end up owing more on their loan than when they started that year because of whatever they were able to contribute. And this is a problem to me because it is so sad to see where, even in my experience, I feel ashamed sometimes, or just like nervous, or that I'm going to offend someone because I tell someone that I don't have student loans. I don't have anything when I graduated college, and I'm financially free as it goes right now. I have like nothing really holding me back when it comes to like school or anything like that. And I feel bad when I talk to these people because I just know how much they actually owe on the back end. And it makes me feel like I can't even say my number and say that I don't have anything because I feel like it's just going to make them feel worse about themselves. And I don't want to do that. But I made decisions that got me to this level. And I also understand that I was handed an extremely lucky hand too, going into this, not financially wise, but just all of my decisions going into it. So the problem I have is that people are signing a piece of paper that says they'll owe 86 or 80,000 or 60,000 or $100,000 a year, not a year, for the degree. So $80,000 for the degree. So they're going to owe that in 4 years when they're 18, right? So my problem with that is just the fact that they don't understand how much money that's worth. I was very fortunate to understand how much $1 was worth when I was that age. And it's just one of those numbers where you're like, yeah, I don't want to pay that ever. Or even if I was making $100,000 a year, I wouldn't want to owe $80,000. Like, it was just that mindset that I've had adopted since I was like 16, 17, because I was lucky enough to get into financial literacy. But there's just kids and almost new adults that are just signing these pieces of paper, and their parents help them too, because they don't know either of just how much that money that actually is. Like, if you don't have any financial support at all, and you're the only one paying for your college, and you are actually signing a loan that is $60,000, right? And you don't even know what job or what respected field you're going to go into once you graduate, or like how much you think you're going to be making when you graduate, then that's just not a good move. I have to be honest, it's just not. Like, you can't sign the bad part of the contract where you're going to owe this amount and you don't even have a plan to get there yet. You're just going to do it. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I don't want people to graduate and then work so hard for 4 years and then get their full-time job and then realize that they are going to need to work a second or even third job or do something on the side to pay for this loan. Because if you do it in a financially smart and strategic way, you can owe nothing, kind of like me, towards the end of your degree. Or even if you owed only $10,000 or $20,000, that's still great compared to these high amounts. Because if you're 4% interest rate on 20,000, that's not as bad as a 4% on 100,000. You can easily outpace your monthly payment for a $20,000 or $10,000 loan versus 100,000. Like, that number that you're basing that interest rate off is going to change everything drastically. So your pathway and what you need to take in order to achieve this, right? So what I did, this is my personal experience, so attribute it to what you want, but I heavily encourage this. Find the university that you like want to go to, if it's in-state or whatever you have going on. Find whatever you're going to go to and see if they do a community college transfer program. So if they allow you to do your first 2 years at community college and then transfer in to your junior year and then finish out your degree. That's exactly what I did. I went to a community college local nearby me, and I made an agreement prior to starting my freshman year at that community college with the university that does this transfer program, and said that if I do this program and transfer into college, they are going to give me a lesser rate for my junior and senior year at university. So it's like an automatic scholarship just applied. So I will heavily encourage you to do this, because I will tell you right now, I paid $20,000 for the last 2 years of my college. So it was about $10,000 a year, for that rate. And I paid $6,000 for the first 2 years at community college, because of scholarships and other things that I had. And I also always worked part-time while I was in school. So like I've pretty much had a job the entire time I've been in school. So I've always worked internships or worked at different places, gained experience in my fields, for like engineering, and paid for it as I've went. So there just has to be different pathways that people take, and it's going to become a problem pretty soon, where all these people that are just picking a degree that doesn't really actually have a good return on investment compared to what their loan is, it's going to be a big game changer, game changer. So anyways, that's kind of like my rant. I got to get into work. Please comment if you feel differently or if you have any more advice, but that is just my story. And also say anything. If you have any questions, ask. I'm happy to help, but I can't take it looking at someone who's just struggling to live because they took $100,000 loan when they were 18, and they just don't know how they're going to do it. Like, right. Well, love you guys.
I'm 22 years old and have about $100,000 worth of debt to my name. It definitely affected my mental health. I can remember when I first realized I was in a bunch of trouble. I would open my Chase account. My credit card debt was at like $12,000. I was like, what did I do to myself? Not only did I have that $12,000 credit card debt on Chase, but I also had like $10,000 with Apple Card. For a long time, I felt hopeless. I felt like I was stuck with this credit card debt. For about 6 months, my credit card debt was just sitting there, accumulating interest, and I was doing nothing about it. I would stay in bed a lot. I didn't have healthy coping mechanisms with it. I was literally so blind to it that I would still spend money and just like pretend it wasn't there. Just recently moved apartments and my rent went from $3,200 to $1,200. I was like, okay, this is a perfect time to start tackling this debt. It sucks opening your bank account. I would try to avoid it all the time because I didn't want to see the number. A lot of my anxiety went away when I just fully went in. I looked at all my credit accounts and I made a plan. It's so much better now that I have a plan and I know exactly how much I owe. You're not alone. If you're in debt, so many people deal with the same things. Like, don't think that this is life ending. The only way out is through. You really have to just come face to face with it. The more you put it off, the more anxiety you're gonna get. Anyways, this is what I'm having tonight for dinner.
$16,254.25 is how much debt I have accumulated. And that really sucks to say, but I'm going to break it down by card, how much is on each card, what is the limit on those cards, and my plan to pay all of this off. Okay, starting out with my lowest balance, this is my Bank of America secured credit card. I've had this since literally I was like 18 years old. I owe $475.52 on it. The limit is $900. Okay, up next is my Apple Card. I owe $3,139.54. I don't actually know what the limit is. I think it's very close to the limit. I want to say the limit is literally like $32.50 or something. I'm very close to the limit is what I'm saying. Okay, next I have a Discover card. I owe $4,376.68. The limit on this one is $10,300. I've had this one since I was 21, 22 maybe. Last, and thank God least, I have a Chase Visa signature card. I owe $8,262.51, I think. I'm trying to remember all these numbers looking at screenshots. The limit on this one is like $8,600, so I'm very close to maxing this one out as well. I'm doing a no-buy 2025, so an entire year of only buying necessities, no clothes, no TJ Maxx runs, no Targets, anything like that, to really get a grip on my debt and to get it paid off. And so follow along. If you like this kind of content, you want to pay off your own debt, you need motivation, here you go.